Hello and welcome to In Conversation. I am Saidul Khan. Well, today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Dennis Conner, head of the Canadian delegation who is leading clean tech practice for the Northeast in Guwahati. Welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Dr. Conner, we understand that you are in Assam to understand how India or the Northeast region can harness the potential clean resources or the green energy which we call. So how has been the meeting so far? Because today the Chief Minister of Meghalaya was here and a couple of delegation led by the ICC, and you had a couple of series of meetings. So what is the response like?
I think the response is as we expected. This region of India has a diverse number of renewable resources, things like wind, obviously. Solar, perhaps not as much, because it does have somewhat more cloud cover. But the one that is quite interesting and is the river potential for small hydro projects. I come from a province in Canada called British Columbia that has similar terrain to the north of Assam, very mountainous, and so we see lots of similarities in terms of the ability to produce power from small projects. And that was one of the things that came out today in our discussions.
So small projects like basically tapping the water resources, because we are saying that smaller dams could be one solution to overcome the shortage of power deficit which we have in this part of the region. This is what conspired out of the meeting?
That's the idea, but in fact you don't necessarily dam the river. You create a small pool with a concrete abutment, so that you've got a catchment, and then you allow that water to flow into a pipe downhill a long way, and at the bottom of the end of that pipe you have your power turbine that generates water. So the water comes out of the stream, never forms a large, doesn't flood a large area, comes out of the stream, goes down the same path essentially as the stream, and then goes back into the stream, and you generate power from the elevation change that the water.
Dr. Conner, like when we talk about dams, people always in this part of the region, they think dams, destruction. This comes in because you have heard definitely about Uttarakhand. So when you say it's a small dam or a big dam or a major dam or a mega dam, but the fear is there in the mind of the people. So when we are talking about addressing the issue, this small projects or the dam which will be on the run kind of system, or how it works, because people have their apprehension with the word dam in this part of the region especially.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't use the word dam. You used the word dam, and the word, but that is the issue. How do you take advantage of that rapidly flowing water to generate the energy that you want in your home without destroying the very environment that you're trying to, that's part of the reason you're there? And so going back to where I come from, we have the native people there, we call them First Nations, have very similar concerns. And when companies with projects approach them, they have to sit down with them and discuss, well, how is this going to work? Why is it not going to have an impact on my existing way of life? And how am I going to benefit from it? And they've worked through those issues one step at a time and implemented these projects so everybody ends up winning, a win-win type of a proposition.
So when we are saying that we can tap the water energy which we have in this part of the region, be it Meghalaya, be it Assam, be it Arunachal Pradesh, so are we going to propose to the government to take up the project, or how the agreement will work? The company from Canada will come and set up or invest money in this part of the region, or you will be looking for investor from this part of the region and partner and collaborate and then take the initiative?
I think it's always better done in partnership, because understanding the local situation takes a long time, and so far better to come in partner with people that are here, that understand the local environment, but then bring the particular experience and knowledge that we have, that our investors, our project companies might bring with them. So it would be a partnership, definitely. And I think the thought that came out in the session today at the Clean Tech Summit was that we should try to pick one project, find a spot where you can actually show how this type of a cooperative development would work what the impacts would be, because there are some impacts. There's a pipe that would come down beside the river that would conduct the water, and show what the benefits could be too. So a single project is a good way to start.
So you were saying that one of the project will be started, and then subsequently when it works, or when we see that this is something which works out here, then more such projects will be introduced in this part of the region.
Roll it out into different areas.
Many say, like I have visited some of the sites in Nagpur in Maharashtra, where they were tapping solar energy, and they said that to produce energy out with this process, like it's very costly affair. So how do we see? Is it tapping the natural resources? It's a costly affair, and if so, how are we trying to address this issue?
Well, I mean, there will be costs with it. So there are components of the costs that to do with, for example, a turbine that takes the water under pressure and spins to generate the electricity. That's probably going to be very similar to the costs in where I come from in British Columbia, because it's a piece of sophisticated equipment. But the cost then of building the pipeline that would come from this catchment area down to where the turbine is, that could be a local project and would use local labor, and consequently could potentially be cost less than it would cost where I would come from, because of course the different rates would be paid. So.
Dr. Connor, is the Canadian government is only willing to give its technological know-how, or is it also that you will be investing money if the partnership is worked out? What are the options which we have for now?
Those are questions we have to explore, because the purpose of coming over here was for us to begin to understand what the needs were in this area, and how they matched what the capabilities are that we have, that we've deployed in certain of our areas. And then we have to approach the companies in British Columbia, for example, who've done these types of projects, who might be interested in looking at new places where they can use the expertise they've developed to deliver similar benefits.
So for now, it is the ICC which will be taking initiative with the governments in this part of the region, and then come up with proposal, then you address it?
The ICC will work with that. They'll work with our Trade Commission office in Delhi and in Kolkata to look at what sort of projects. We probably, as part of that, will encourage a delegation from here to come over to Canada and see some of the projects we've done, not only in British Columbia. I come from British Columbia, so I emphasize that, but similar sorts of projects have been done in Manitoba and in Quebec, and they would see all of those and begin to understand which companies they might work with.
Our government in the country, they also are putting much of the focus on the green energy, the solar, wind and tidal, and they are saying that the next generation power is only in addressing the green issues, which they say. So in such a situation, when the government of India already has a mandate that we want to promote green or the clean energy, which we say, in such a situation, it doesn't look like it will be a difficult task to associate with this country. So how are we exploring this option? Because we are saying that we want to promote green energy, as we heard the Chief Minister of Meghalaya saying that we are trying to map the wind velocity in that part of the state, and they are probably identifying those areas, wind mapping which they are doing. So how because it looks simple for us, but when it comes to investment, that's the bottleneck which we face, because it's a region where people talk there is no peace, there is insurgency in this part of the region, which is of course not true.
That's why we're here, because there has been this expression of interest on the part of India and the part in this region in particular, to see if there isn't a way to start to implement some of these green energy projects. So we were invited to come, and I was asked to head this delegation, so that we would begin the dialogue to implement projects such as this.
So you, as an expert in clean energy, which we say, so what are the options you look for Assam and Northeast? Because I'm sure that the different delegates has apprised you about the topography, the geography of this part of the region, and you as an expert probably have come up with some solution to this.
Well, you look for what makes sense in any area. So, as I said at the start, if you were considering all of the things, you would probably fairly quickly look at solar as being lower on the list, because there is cloud cover due to the effect of the mountains here. Wind is something that's very localized, so you have to do the sorts of things that the Chief Minister of Meghalaya talked about, which is measure and chart where the wind is appropriate. But I mean, literally flying in yesterday and looking at the streams coming down from the mountains as we flew along steadily towards Guwahati, it was as obvious as could be that there is huge potential for small hydro. And there's two different types of hydro you can deal with. One is the ones that we talked about earlier, which is these run-of-river projects. But the other is in-stream projects. There's the massive energy flow that is going by the outskirts of Guwahati in the river. If you put turbines in in that flow, you can generate electricity, and that is another potential option that we will explore. One of the companies that is in fact not here, but will be in Delhi, is a company that has this in-stream type technology that you can exploit. So
this part of the region has a lot of power deficit, and the industries are not being able to meet the demand of the power. And now in a scenario where your company, your country is going to assist this part of the region, in generating more power. So how actually, what are the, because we know that this is a preliminary talk which is going on between your country and this region. So, but definitely you have some suggestion for us, or it's just we are trying to exchange our ideas and then probably come up with a suggestion?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to people beginning to understand each other, beginning to get confidence that what they're hearing, but also they have to look at, well, I'm going to invest $1 in this project, and I have to get that $1 back, and I have to make some money in addition. And from the other side, you have to look at it and say, well, that person's going to invest $1 in my country. What benefit am I going to get from it? Am I going to get the power I need? Am I going to get that at a reasonable cost? And that is how he will evaluate, or the government will evaluate it. Is this a good deal for both people? And that's the sort of process that takes a while to work your way through, so that people understand, well, what's the investment opportunity and what's the benefits? And those two then have to meet so that everybody says, yeah, that's something we want to do.
Well, we'll continue our conversation, but for now we head in for a short break.